Hi everybody, welcome to Plant Delights Nursery. My name is Meghan Fidler, I'm the Nursery Manager. So anything that's under hoops is my domain. We have a really wonderful garden here, and today we're going to talk about pollinators. I hope that you guys can meander around, take a peek at all the gardens, and then come back up and see me in the nursery and we can talk about growing things in pots. But for pollinators, there's a couple things I want to bring up first. Is that a lot of times we're not actually thinking through what pollinators are. I have a couple of plants, for example, like the aspidistra. The aspidistra actually has very low flowers, and I couldn't find one that was blooming today just because they wanted to be difficult. That grows right down in the dirt. And it's not actually done by what we typically think is pollinators. It's actually done by fungus gnats, which is why that flower is so low and which is why it's in the earth. So every single flower and every single plant on earth has made a symbiotic relationship with their pollinators through time. So if you're looking at the flower itself, the shape and the arrangement of the flower is going to give you a good clue on what kind of pollinator is going to actually be attracted. So we're going to head over here just for a little bit. I want to show you some stuff that's absolutely covered in what we typically consider pollinators, which are bees. So this is one of the first things I want to show you, and this is a really wonderful Salginia. And you can see all these little guys here are going ahead and pollinating. Look at how the flower is facing. The flower has a small opening, and it has a little tiny offshoot here at the bottom. Okay, so what it's actually doing is it's asking these guys to go ahead and stick their little tongues in here and actually grab them. And what's interesting about the bees, and we've got a little wasp here, is that there is some debate. Everybody's really into native plants right now, right? There's a big native movement. But when we talk about pollinators, almost none of our pollinators here in the United States are native. It's like the Italian three-ring bee. It's all of the nice honeybees that we've mostly brought over from Europe because they're docile and they produce a lot of honey. So I have 3 hives back in my apiary, and they're all Italian three-ring bees, but they outcompete our native bees. And if I can find one, I'll show you. They're much smaller. They're about the size of my fingernail. And they are actually mostly living in the ground. And that's the same with all of our carpenter bees and other sorts of bees. So if we bring all these bees over because we're looking to have them make a product for us, and they're outcompeting our native bees, then we have to really open up and think about what we're considering for natives and what we're considering in planting in our gardens. To me, anything that's going to be a pollinator is absolutely wonderful. I can handle everybody. And we've moved all over the world as people, so I don't expect animals not to do the same. So it's just an interesting conversation to think through that kind of a problem. I've got some more over here. Oh yes. Hi kiddos. Yeah. So let's see here. There's the nice sweat hornet. This is an Italian three-ring right here. This bright orange one. These are going to be our native ground bees, these big black ones with that brown spot. Now, most of the time when you see these guys, if they have a little white dot on their head, they tend to be females. Those are the ones that are probably going to sting. If they're total black like this, they're probably males. So while they normally aren't supposed to do drone work, they do go out and get honey, and you can pick them up and hold them. I am completely not afraid of you. Rawr. So they're wonderful. But again, look at the form of this flower. So you've got the anther and you've got the stigma. If you're looking at that flower, see how it's got all of the little parts that are hanging out here? What it's actually doing is coordinating with its pollinator for it to get pollen. So while it's offering all the nectar in the inside of the plant, when the little bug grabs on and grabs onto it, it's actually probably coating its belly with those pollen. And then when they move to the next one, they're recoating the one that's probably the anther. So the flower itself arranges its sexual anatomy in order to work with different pollinators. I have a calopogon, which I love. It's an actual bog orchid that's a bee mimicking orchid. It's so neat. It's a white orchid, and it's got a little fringe at the bottom. They're not blooming right now. It's the wrong season. but it does mimic the scent of an actual bee. And if you see the bees come and grab on and they wiggle on it and then poof, all the anthers come down, whack them on the back. And then they go to the next calopogon, they grab on and they wiggle on it, and poof, the next stigmas take those all off. So they actually do organize themselves with the relationship from their pollinators.